It was Texas, it was Tennessee. It was what I had coming to me.
Welcome in, folks. You have arrived at the Texas to Tennessee podcast with our friend Soul Gravy over there on the top left. My name's Steve. Tonight, we are incredibly fortunate to have our friend Caden Gillard on the show. Caden, welcome in. Good to see you.
Yeah, man. Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, man. Been looking forward to it.
Our
Me
pleasure.
too.
Did so much homework today because I felt like I knew a decent amount about you, but I got to a little bit deeper place today. So hopefully I've got some decent questions. I worked hard on them. So to get started, if you don't mind, just maybe taking a couple minutes and giving us a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into a few questions from there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how far back you want me to go.
Up to you.
I'm sure there's a couple questions you got in there from recent past all the way to since I was 14 years old. But if you did your homework anyway.
I tried.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We were kind of talking earlier about sports and stuff. I mean, growing up, I did sports and I rode calves and sheep and stuff growing up, and then once I got into like fourth or fifth grade, I started skateboarding, and I got real into skateboarding and stuff. My older brother skateboarded, and I mean, other than wrestling, I wrestled for 10 years. So once I got into high school, though, I didn't know how to play any instruments until I was 14. So, man, I got into high school and started riding bulls real heavy and started learning how to play guitar. And I always loved to sing, but I wasn't always good at it. But, man, it kind of blossomed from there. And I started writing songs about rodeo and riding bulls. And I just travel around the country picking my guitar and sitting on the back of a tailgate and just, kind of the Cody Johnson story, we hung around the same people and, kind of did the same thing. He was just a few years ahead of me. So, yeah, man, it's just, it blossomed from there. And then, injury after injury happened. And I didn't have the same drive and passion to ride bulls like I used to. And I just, right before I, decided to do music full time, I broke my collarbone. And a couple weeks before I broke my collarbone, I actually walked up on the opportunity to open up for Cody Johnson. And so, and so from there, once I broke my collarbone, I couldn't lift any weight. I couldn't do physical labor or anything like that. So I was like, man, I opened for Kojo in front of almost 4,000 people. Let me try to use that as some leverage,
Right.
Start booking some shows. I realized I could make money doing it. And, that the Kojo show was my first show.
That's wild.
And it was all downhill from there. But, they brought us back a couple years later to open up for Co in Crosby. And that was in front of almost 6,000 people. So it's been a wild ride, man. We go out with Braxton Keith this weekend. So, man, it's just it's awesome. It's been a wild ride. We've had a lot of highs and a lot of lows, but part of this business, I would say one of the biggest parts of this business is just outlasting everybody else.
Yeah, staying after it is a big part of it. There's a lot of folks, Soul Gravy and I talk about this a little bit. There's a lot of folks that have a microphone and do a podcast, but a lot of them stop before they get to episode 20.
Yeah,
And
man. It's hard.
Sometimes you got to just stick with it. So
yeah, it's hard for sure.
All right.
That's a great pairing, by the way, you and Braxton.
You think so?
I think so. As far as
100%.
He's a cool cat.
Well, I'm thinking yes, and music wise and crowd wise, they're, you know what I mean. You two,
Yeah.
I think you complement each other as far as the folks that are going to be listening as well.
I agree. That's kind of the demographic that we're going after as well to grow. And I think these shows could be really beneficial for us. And, Anytime I'm out on the road with one of these guys, I always do my absolute best to hype the crowd up for them as well.
Sure.
I want to go and I want to put on the best show that I can, but a lot of headliners in this business don't want that. They don't like being showed up. I don't know if you've ever seen a Braxton show, but he's fantastic live.
For sure.
But my whole job is to warm up the crowd for Braxton.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like it's important knowing your place while also entertaining the crowd and putting on the best show that you can, because and me and Braxton have had this conversation. So many people in this business are closed off and they don't want to help anybody. And it's almost as if they think if they help me or if they help so-and-so, then people won't like them anymore. And it's like, when's the last time you've hopped in the car and only listened to one person the whole drive?
100%.
The people are allowed to like more than one person.
Well, and to be honest, if somebody actually is listening to you, there's a decent chance that you're going to push them to somebody else like Braxton. Maybe they live in a different part of the country and haven't heard Braxton yet.
Yeah.
So, like, I think the people that are serious get it, but I know what you're saying, that there are folks out there that, for whatever reason, decide that, who knows why, but they just,
I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
I just, and I don't know who's watching this, but like if you any business that you're in, man, if you can build a community and we can all help each other, then you'll have a lot more people be successful, because you never know who's going to blow up in that instant, and then they'll help you out. It may be you, and you can bring your friends along. It's one of those things that I feel like so many people think that only one person can be successful, and that's just not the case. So with all that being said, I'm excited to go on the road with Braxton, because I feel like it can help both of us out.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that popped in my mind was, like you said, the age demographic thing. If they're there to listen to him, then I think that they would be even more willing to listen to you, if that would make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if it was an older group, they might not pay attention as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
That just could be me. That's just the first thing that I thought.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah. And what's crazy is we actually, with these shows, we actually may be able to bring a little bit different crowd to Braxton as well.
Sure.
Because we do our age demographic spans pretty far. We're
That's
like
good.
from 18 to 35 is our demographic, like our main demographic. And then we have, I want to say like another 12 or 13% that's all the way up to like 55. So we've got a pretty good range.
We'll get into that, but I'm sure some of the stuff we'll talk about has to do with your age demographic too.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
man. I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah,
But
that's fantastic. All right, so this Ken, you'll have to bear with us. This is the part of the show where I quiz Soul Gravy on where you're from. So I do the research, and then he has to try to figure out famous folks from your hometown. So
it's gonna be tough.
And
First
I
off,
don't look at this too.
Yes.
He told me not to. So
folks, if you just joined, this is a Nashville recording artist, Caden Gillard, and he is originally from Sulphur, Louisiana. I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Okay. All right. Good. Because my list was going to be not correct if that was the case. All right.
throw it over your shoulder at that point.
Just to give you a little geographic setting, Southwest Louisiana, about 2 hours, 15 minutes from Houston, and about 3 hours from New Orleans off I-10. Just barely to the west of Lake Charles.
Yep.
And we have 5 people. I think you're going to know one of them.
Okay.
Maybe 2. I don't know. We'll see. All right. The first one is Janice Lynn.
I'm not familiar with her work.
Me neither.
Okay. Well, this is learning all the way around. Janice is a famous soap opera actor.
Okay.
actress. She
I
was
didn't know.
on, I think, One Life to Live and maybe General Hospital. So shout out to her.
Okay.
Yep.
There's a chance I know that face from growing up with the folks I grew up with. So.
Yeah. You got to watch your programs.
That's right.
All right. This one I think you might have a chance at. Matt Stevens.
Matt Stevens, yes. Crap. What is a?
You
What do I know?
specifically should have a chance at knowing this one.
I know. God. I mean, I'm thinking baseball player right off the bat, and I don't know.
We do have one of those on the list, but that's
Yeah,
not
we
this one.
do.
Why do I know?
I know a couple baseball players, but
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Why do I know? I don't know.
Backup quarterback for the Chiefs in the 80s.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Soul's
Definitely.
a Chiefs fan.
I
So.
should have known.
Shane Hanchy.
Baseball player?
No.
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 Okay.
World champion roper. And I think Caden is friends or knows him well, right?
Yeah. He was actually, he's a little bit older than me. He's my brother's age. They went to high
Okay.
school together.
Nice.
So, but yeah, I mean, same circles. I went to school with
Right.
his little sister and stuff. So
Very cool.
With those
Yeah.
questions and me not knowing the answer, all I can think about is that me.
more cowboy than
Yeah, that's brilliant, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay.
Wish we'd
You're
recorded that
definitely
one.
more cowboy than me. So continue
Fair
on.
enough. All right. Casey Daigle.
I don't know.
Yep.
Caden, you want to tell us who Casey is?
He's a baseball player.
Baseball
Okay.
player. I think he
Yep.
played for the Giants, maybe. I'm not sure.
I think he played for the
as a
Astros
pitcher?
too.
Astros. Okay.
I think so.
All right. Last one. Soul Gravy. Pressure's on.
All right.
His name's Dak Prescott.
Oh yeah, I think I know who he is. He
Yeah.
is definitely more cowboy than me. For
He
right
was
now.
born in Sulphur.
For right
yeah.
now, unless he becomes a Tennessee Titan.
Yeah.
Also more cowboy than who's the coach that just got
Mike
fired?
McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy, right?
Yeah, he's more cowboy than Mike McCarthy. Check
Yeah.
out my TikTok on that if it's still around by the time this episode airs.
There's more famous people from Sulphur as well.
Yeah,
that
tell
are
us because
rodeo and baseball. Pat Rapp.
Oh yeah.
Played in the majors, and then Casey Martin,
Okay.
world champion bulldogger.
Yep.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, and then
I was thinking the golfer because there's a golfer named Casey Martin.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, he's the
And
one
then,
that played with had the hip thing where they
did
gave him the
both.
golf cart. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
He had the hip thing because of the bull ride.
Probably.
Yeah.
yeah. But there, and then Jenny Finch.
Oh, softball player.
Yeah,
Nice.
she's Olympian. She lives in Sulphur. She's married to Casey actually.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. All right.
So, but yeah, I mean there's probably quite a few more.
Well, and
And
then
then
add
Lucinda Williams is from Lake Charles.
close by. Yeah, I knew
Yeah,
she was
So
Lake Charles. Lake Charles. So Sulphur's, I think, around 20 to 25,000 people ish. Would that be correct?
it was small growing up, and then
It's grown a little bit.
we have a lot of refineries and stuff. So it became a boom town
Gotcha.
really quick, and so now it's pretty developed.
Gotcha.
And then Lake Charles even more so.
Yep.
So yeah.
Well,
Plus
thanks for putting up with.
In
Go
a
ahead, sorry.
band song too. So
It is
so that's
Lake Charles.
my-
Yeah,
exactly.
Cripple Creek, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We should play that game later. But all right, so thanks for letting us do that, Caden.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to talk about just briefly, because I'm not sure everybody knows the story, but you've lived a lot of life, obviously, bull riding, doing music, doing things that a lot of folks go, man, I'd love to give that a shot. I don't know if I have the talent to do it, but also pretty big life adjustment in 2009. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. In 2009, I was diagnosed with leukemia. And like I said, it was my freshman year. I didn't know how to play guitar at the time. So going into the hospital, I'd always wanted to play. And so I had quite a bit of time to practice.
Right.
So I taught myself how to play guitar, and then that's where I started writing my own songs. And I wrote a song called "Fight of My Life" at the time. It's kind of the first song that I'd ever written. And man, I remember I remember having a conversation with my dad that because we basically I'd had mono for like 6 weeks leading up to the diagnosis, and went back to the doctor. I still wasn't better. I wasn't healing. My doctor was just honest with us and said, "Look, this seems really odd to me. And here's a list of things that it could be, but I want you to go to a specialist to really figure this out."
Right.
And so we went, and it was a whole day of testing. And basically at the end of the day, they came out and said, "I hope you packed your bags because you're going to be staying here for a while."
Right.
And I mean, as a 14-year-old kid, I mean, you hear of people getting diagnosis and friends and family, but you never think that it's going to be you, and so we did our crying and calling family and stuff, and then we kind of had a family get together and said, "Look, this is what's going on, but we're not going to claim this." I'm a firm believer in Jesus, and so we decided that there's life and death in the power of the tongue, and we are not going to claim this. This is not mine. This is something I was diagnosed with. And so that night we moved our bags into the room, and my dad sat on the edge of the bed, and being a I'm being a father myself now, I can only imagine. And my dad sat on the edge of the bed, and he said, "Son, if I could take this from you, I would." And I said, "Dad, I wouldn't give it to you. It's I'll take it, and I'll be glad to beat it." And so I took that conversation and I put it into a song called "Fight of My Life." And man, throughout the whole journey, it was just so easy to see God work through our situation, and the lives that He was able to touch through us, and the opportunities that I was able to get from these situation.
Right.
I was on national television. I was in a Tide commercial. I was on 93 The Q in Houston. Just all these different things that I would have never been able to be a part of. I was on TLC on The Little Couple. And I was able to sing on there, and it's insane to look back and think, for what, and obviously seeing how much I've grown in my musical talents and abilities, looking back, I'm like, why did they even have me on there? But it's obvious, God's anointing on the whole situation. So, yeah, man. So from there, it kind of developed, and I started writing more songs, and I would sit out on the floor, because like, I don't know if you've ever been to Texas Children's, but in front of each room there's like rocking chairs to where you can sit outside of your room and kind of get out, so to speak.
Have a little space, right?
And so I would sit out in front of my room and play my guitar for the other patients, and you'd see the little kids and their parents come and sit, and they would kind of congregate, and I'd put on little concerts and shows for them and the nurses and stuff, and that's kind of where I got my start. That's where I got my love for playing and singing in front of people. I feel like I've always been an entertainer. I've always kind of liked to be in the center of attention, but I don't know. It was just a different shift. And so, yeah, man, from there, you know, it's always kind of been a part of my life. No matter what I did, may not have been what I was doing for a living, but it was part of my living. You
Sure.
know, I would sit out on the back of the bucking chutes with a tip box or like in the bleachers with a tip box, and that's how I would pay my entry fees. You know, so I mean, it's just always been something I would do.
Yeah.
I used to go to Waffle House every single weekend off of Ruth Street. And I still have Waffle House waitresses that follow me and you know, still talk about all the nights. In high school, we would have bonfires every weekend. Man, we'd bust up in a Waffle House and I'd play my guitar for tips, and they would, I don't know if I can say this on here or not, but they used to give me free food. And,
Shout out to Waffle House.
Oh, shout out to Waffle House. I love my Waffle House peeps. Candace and Lauren, if you're listening.
Well,
yeah, man. It's awesome.
I appreciate you sharing the story. I think it's important to, you know, to get a part of the whole picture. And I did not know that until today, until I started digging in a little bit deeper. And I'm like, well, we're gonna have to talk about that. So
yeah, man.
I appreciate
And
you sharing that.
I'm sorry if I ramble. Y'all just
No, you're
y'all
good.
just give me one of those and I'll cut it short.
We would much rather have you ramble than have us ramble. So speaking of Soul, your turn.
Yeah. Well, just as you mentioned, as a father, like you said, I couldn't imagine that, having that, just as far as with your kid in general. But then fast forward to, I couldn't imagine as a father watching my son be on stage and doing the things that he loves to do. So kudos for that situation to be able to happen like that. I can only imagine from their point of view how they feel to watch you be able to play those shows and things of that nature. So yeah,
Well,
For sure.
thank you, man. Thank you.
yeah, that's so when you were just getting started, was it all you were already wanting to write songs?
Oh yeah. I mean that's always been like something I was most drawn to. And even like I said, before I played music, you know, like in middle school and stuff, I was always a big fan of, because in school you have like different segments of things that you learn. So like you may learn, I don't spelling, I don't know,
Right.
you know, but one of the portions of the year is poetry.
Gotcha.
And that's what I was always drawn to. I loved poetry and I loved rhyming and creating stories. And I really got that from my mom. My mom's super creative and she's writing a book right now that's absolutely phenomenal. But she's always loved putting stories together, and she would, you know, on long trips, she would just come up with stuff out of thin air and just, you know, create a story just to keep us engaged, you know, back before screens existed. So
Right.
So as far as musically, the family wasn't very musical, or was anybody in your family into all that?
yeah, my mom sang. My dad has rhythm. My dad's a really good dancer. So I mean,
Nice.
being from Louisiana, we jitterbug and two step and Cajun two step and stuff like that. So my dad is a really good dancer.
Hmm.
But my mom sang, and she sang on the hold on,
Yeah.
she sang on the worship team
Gotcha.
in church,
Nice.
and so that was really the extent of it. Sorry, I gotta charge my phone. Here we go. That was really the extent of it, honestly. And then growing up, my brother taught himself how to play guitar. My oldest brother, Josh, and he had like a garage band called Vernacular Silence. I still remember that, man. And I remember
Interesting.
they played. I mean, it was a rock band. If you couldn't tell,
Yeah.
Right.
it was during like early 2000s. So the grunge stuff and Creed and all those bands were super popular. And so I remember going to their gigs where it was family friendly and just watching them and so I grew up wanting to be like him and then the older we all got, my second oldest brother, I'm one of 5, by the way.
Oh.
So my second oldest brother ended up teaching himself how to play piano and then picking up guitar and playing guitar. And so we all just, Josh, my oldest brother, learned first, and then me and Jake learned, later on in life. So he was out of high school by the time he taught himself. So, yeah.
So what were some of the songs that young Caden was trying to cover back in the day?
As far so here's another little tidbit. So
Okay.
I was pretty much raised only on worship music, like
Okay.
gospel music.
Yep.
I didn't really hear any country music until my friend stole my iPod Nano and downloaded his whole list from
It's
LimeWire.
always the friends, man. Always the friends.
So man, I remember. So when I first started learning how to play guitar, like I said, a lot of stuff was mainly just original music, like
Mhm.
learning how to play guitar, G, C, D, and E minor, and then eventually figuring out some other chords. And then my oldest brother would come, visit me at the hospital and be like, play an A minor. I'm like, what's an A minor? And he would
Know
show
that
me and I'd be
existed.
like, oh, I'm already playing that. That's okay. That's this
Yeah.
chord, right? And so I started learning how to play covers, certain covers in the hospital, which was like How He Loves by David Crowder and Let It Rain, which is an old worship song they played
Yep.
in the church. And so those were like and How Great Is Our God was another one. And just capoing and figuring out where it fit best, and
That's what I was thinking when you said learn those 4 chords. Yeah,
yeah,
just move that
yeah,
capo
man.
around. That's
Yep.
fine.
It got me pretty far. I'll tell you that.
For sure.
And then once I got into high school, and my buddy downloaded all that, and I got my license, and I was listening to, that Jason Aldean record, Church Pew Barstool Town, dude. That was on repeat in my truck.
Yeah.
But when I got that iPod back, he had 52 George Strait songs.
Oh, there you go.
And that's where I cut my teeth. George Strait, and he had a ton of Hank Jr. and those songs. And man, that then I started getting into my own style of music that I really fell in love with. And then man, obviously, Dinosaur and Family Tradition and Write This Down and all those songs.
Right.
And then man, those bonfire days, it was wagon wheel through and through. The old Crow Medicine show.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That version. Yeah.
Before it became
Right.
mainstream.
And then by the time
And
it became
man,
mainstream, you were probably tired of it, like
oh
most of
man,
us.
by the time it went mainstream and everybody's like, can you play Wagon Wheel by Darius Rucker? I'm like, it's
I
not
don't know it.
Darius Rucker. Get it right. And so
Poor
man, every
Darius.
weekend at Waffle House, it
Hootie.
was Wagon Wheel. And then I remember one night, Wanted by Hunter Hayes had just come out, and he's from Louisiana as well.
Okay.
So it was super popular down there, and it was number 1 at the time, and I played it at Waffle House. And I this big guy, I mean, he was huge, gets up out of his out of his thing. He's all the way on the other side of the restaurant, and he gets up out of his booth and he starts walking over to me, and he reaches into his pocket and he slaps $100 bill on the table. And he says, "Play it again." I said, "I'll play it all night if you want to."
There you go.
And so I played it again, and he went to the ATM and he pulled out another 100 and said, "Thanks." And I was like, "All right, Waffle House on me," you know. And good time, good time.
Man, I gotta try out one of these Waffle House concerts.
Yeah.
Look, man.
That's where it's at, man.
We'll go
What's
TikTok live
what's
and see what
crazy?
happens.
Yeah,
For a few
man. What's
days.
crazy though is I went back, and I mean when you leave, because after that I went on and I rodeoed, and so I was barely home anymore, and I went back, and my Waffle House people that were there left, and I pulled my guitar out like I used to, and then they weren't so cool about it. They were like, "Hey, can you can't do that in here." I'm like,
They didn't know.
"What do you mean? I'm the king of Waffle House. What do you mean I can't do that in here?" And oh man, it didn't go over so well. So we kind of retired the whole Waffle House scene, but it was cool while it lasted.
I would go in there now and play your song on the jukebox. I'd be like,
Yeah. See, you could have had it for free.
that's
Man, I'm not even on a jukebox yet.
Yeah.
It
okay.
sucks. You have to be with a major distributor, and we're not yet. We've been pitched 2 jukeboxes,
Right.
but they go through like an approval process, and if you're not with a major distributor like Sony or one of these majors,
Right.
they won't even look at you. So
Gotcha.
they're
Yeah,
lost,
so
I guess.
We're at halftime, so
Okay.
I think it's
Already?
maybe. I know it goes by quick. Goes by quick when you're having a good time. So we are going to play Rewind. So if you don't mind giving us maybe just a little background on that song.
Yeah. Man, not every song is easy to write. But this was one of the ones that was. And I just had this thought in my head one day driving home. Now I'm headed south of Tulsa on that Oklahoma line. And I was like, I like that. I'm burning up these Bridgestones, trying to make it down that road, And then these lines just kind of started coming together. And I had one line in there that I'd had written down for like years. And it was the puzzle line. And I couldn't figure out how to
Word. Yeah.
put
Like
it
a puzzle.
together.
Yep, for sure. Like
No
a
pun
puzzle.
intended. Put it in a song, and I tried it in a couple other songs, and it just didn't fit properly. No pun intended again. And then I got home, started looking at the map, and I'm like, man, Tulsa's in the middle of the state. That doesn't really make sense. And I'd been through Ardmore and stuff coming from Oklahoma into Texas, and I was like, man, that's right there on the line. So let's do Ardmore. That fits,
Good choice.
And man, I sat down, and about 15 minutes later, I came downstairs and I said, Stevie, which is my wife's name. I said, Stevie, tell me if you like this. Sang it to her. She's like, oh my gosh, I love that. That's beautiful. I said, all right. So I went back upstairs about another 15 minutes later. I came down, and it was done. I mean, what you hear now is what I wrote then.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And I played it around, and people liked it. But honestly, when I went and recorded it, I loved it. And it's still, to this day, one of my favorite songs. But 9 times out of 10, my favorite song is not, or an artist's favorite song in general is not going to be the public's favorite song.
For sure.
And I felt like it was very specific to like a musician, right? Because of, making pennies on the dollar, and all that stuff. So I felt like it would really resonate with musicians, but I didn't feel like it would be huge. Well, I mean, I released it and it blew up. And I mean, next thing you know, I just have hundreds of videos, and hundreds of thousands of streams, and I'm getting like 3,000, 3,000 streams a day, sometimes almost 5,000 streams a day. And I'm like, what is going like this? I mean, I'm lucky on some releases if I get 50 streams a day, and so it just took off. And, now looking back, I never mentioned that it was about a musician. Right. So a lot of truckers resonate with it.
Yeah.
It's just about chasing a dream. And
anybody who's out on the road.
Exactly, man. And so it's amazing to see what it's done. So
it's probably best that you maybe didn't mention it, right? Like beforehand, because songs can be interpreted a lot of different ways, right?
And that's
not really
what's
yours
so
anymore.
Beautiful about it. So if you resonate, don't listen to me.
All right, we're gonna go silent on the mic so we can get a good listen on it, if that's all right.
Sounds good.
Yeah, not me this time, right, Tom? Here we go. All right.
Trying to make it down that road, earning pennies on the dollar is really starting to get old. Always running around from town to town, I thought would be good for the soul. God knows I couldn't stay, 'cause this is where I fell in love with a girl who couldn't stand and bear the thought of us. Now I'm forced to chase a dream I always wanted to. I always thought I could, I thought I would, I just thought it'd be with you. So now I'm headed south of Ardmore on that Oklahoma line, trying hard as hell to find myself in this moment of time. Tattooed on my heart, affecting my mind, digging deep inside to try to find this need to rewind. Now I'm trying to put it back together, a puzzle that's been shattered, looking for a purpose, like it even matters. Tell me now, what good does it do if I can't share this with you? So now I'm headed south of Ardmore on that Oklahoma line, trying hard as hell to find myself in this moment of time. Tattooed on my heart, infecting my mind, and digging deep inside to try to find this need to rewind. Need to rewind. Now I'm headed south of Ardmore on that Oklahoma line, trying hard as hell to find myself in this moment of time. Tattooed on my heart, infecting my mind, and digging deep inside to try to find. I'm digging deep inside to try to find. It's need to rewind. It's need to rewind.
There it is.
I was trying to think of a way that I could rewind it and play it back again without, but yeah. So you mentioned the Aldine stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
Style wise, I can completely
You understand it?
in that song. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not that you're copying him in any way, but you can hear that influence.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, man, you know, you may or may not like his music today, but man, he had some
There was a bunch
bangers
of them.
back in the day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
early
was
stuff
man.
slapped.
there was
Slapped
like 4 or
hard.
5 straight albums that you
Yep.
could
Oh
listen to
my
from front
gosh.
to back.
And
Yeah.
almost non-skips. I mean, honestly. And that Church P Barstool kind of town
Yeah.
album,
Yep.
I mean, if through and through, it's one of the best albums, you know,
It's
in
really,
my
really solid. Yep.
It's
Understood.
super solid. There's not really a skipper song on there, you know?
Yeah,
So
I
you
think.
were mentioning.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, that's
I
all
was
right.
just going to say you were mentioning writing that song and coming down and being all excited about it. How when you got to get in the studio and you hear that playback or you get that that mix back, how the hell was that to feel that for the first
Oh,
time?
I knew when we were recording it. I knew in the studio that it was gonna be huge, like sound huge.
Right.
Yeah,
You know, the musicians that I had on it, John Carroll played guitar on that, and he's so good.
just that sound.
He's so good. He said it sounds so fat.
Mhm.
When he plays guitar, and then let's see, Jody Bartula played fiddle on it, and working with him was
That was a
Yeah.
nice add
amazing.
too in the earphones. Really being able to
Oh,
hear
yeah.
hear that.
Yeah. And I up into that session, I'd never had any fiddle on anything, and so after that session, we were like, that's our sound, like that's what we need more of. And so we just went into the studio and recorded 7 more. Just outside of Dallas was one of those. Cowboy Way was one of those. And so we have 5 more songs to release from that. So we're releasing one February 14th on Valentine's Day called Honest Thief. And it's got a ripping, it's not a big song like Rewind.
Right.
You know, it's more of your train beat type of, you know, I don't want to say Zach Bryan, but kind of that, you know, that constant moving, more of a story type of song.
Gotcha.
So we'll see how that does. But the one that's following that up, it's called "Don't Take Her Texas," and I got a funny feeling about that one.
Nice.
I think that one might do Rewind numbers or better. So
I hope so.
yeah, man.
Did Trent work with you on Rewind, or because I
He
know
did
he has?
not.
Okay, I know he's worked on some of your stuff, right?
He's never produced anything. Me and Trent have
okay.
written together,
Yep.
and you know we've been associated with each other in different ways. But
Gotcha.
Trent has never produced anything of ours. No.
All right. Trent Woolman, is, Gravy. He works with Cody Johnson quite a
Yeah,
bit.
he's
and
produced all of
good
Cody's.
musician on his
Yeah,
own.
Yeah, I
he's
remember.
produced all of Cody's stuff from, I think the Different Day album on.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
I remember his. I mean, when he had his own hits back in the
Yeah.
day.
yeah, and
sure.
Trent was pretty successful himself. So
Yeah, very
Yeah.
cool. All right. Well, I want to talk about. Hold on. I want to talk about Bull Riding Fiend.
yeah,
Can we talk about that one?
sure. What you
All
want to
right.
know?
Well, were you listening to a lot of Luke Kaufman, Ed Burleson, that kind of rodeo stuff? Because man, I immediately went there when I heard that first time I heard that song.
Yeah, I mean, not not necessarily at the moment. I mean, we listen to that stuff going down the road, and honestly, we listen more to Chris Ledoux and Red Steagall more than anything.
Okay.
But Colby Yates was a big thing when I was rodeoing and stuff. Justin McBride had some songs and stuff that we'd listen to. But I've always been a fan of rock music. I love feeling like I can run through a brick wall. You know, back from my skater days, like I told y'all, you know, I went through an emo phase. So I listened to like a lot of My Chemical Romance and
Sure.
AFI and
Yeah, it
you
makes
know
sense.
all that stuff, Mayday Parade and all that punk, Blink 182, and you know I love grunge music as well. I love Pearl Jam and Nirvana and you know those bands. You know Chris Cornell and Audio Slave and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
But
people would be surprised if they knew what music was playing, the warm-up music for bull riders and
I
other
mean,
rodeo folks. People would
you're
be
about
shocked.
yeah, man, you're about to freaking get on a 1,800-pound bull.
Right.
You know, I mean, slinging snot everywhere. I mean, you gotta get amped up. You see those guys slap their faces and you know their legs. And I mean, we're ready to bite through a nail by the time we get on. You know,
Yep.
so you know, for the ones that aren't doing drugs, you gotta get hyped up somehow.
Right.
So yeah, man, I love rock music and Bull Riding Fiend was the first. Because like Red Dirt Rock and Roll,
Right.
the guitar players played in drop D, but I didn't because I
Oh,
didn't know how to
okay.
play in drop D at the time.
Oh, interesting. All right.
So I didn't know how to play in drop D. So Bull Riding Fiend was the first drop D song that I wrote.
Very cool.
Well, I wrote Red Dirt Rock and Roll, but that I played.
Understood.
So and it's, I mean, the typical beginner, you know, holding the 3 top strings with my pointer finger, you know. So that one I wrote on the way back from. It was an all night drive from a bull riding, and it was actually. I told you I broke my collarbone. It was actually I got hired to play a backyard bull riding in Seguin, Texas, and I wasn't able to ride that day. But all those guys are my friends, so I went up for the bull riding and I played after the bull riding and stuff. And on my way back home, it just popped into my head. I wanted to write something for my buddies about king string bucking bulls, and you know, whenever we go. So Jake King, Mike King, all those guys, the Cito Bull compound over in New Waverly, Texas, they take in a lot of guys. You know, they have a bunkhouse. They take guys in when they're in between houses or, you know, in between rodeos and stuff. During the week, they don't want to go all the way back home. You go
Right.
stay at the King String Ranch, right? Well, when you do, bulls for breakfast is a common thing. We would buck bulls any time of day. It may be midnight and we get a wild hair. We're like, hey, turn on the lights. We're bucking some bulls. We'll run them in. So it's the Wild West over there for sure. So one morning, you know, we got up when I broke my arm, actually. We got up that morning and we were like, it was 8 a.m. Hey, y'all want to buck some bulls? Sure. Keyshawn Whitehorse wanted to come get on. He was in high school at the time. He came and got on. So we bucked bulls and, you know, it's just, anyway, that memory popped in my head.
Yeah.
And,
Perfect.
and bulls for breakfast. So I was like, down in East Texas, got spurs on my feet and cross on my necklace. I was like,
Yeah. Well done.
hey, that
There you go.
sounds cool, you know? So, it started flowing from there and it turned into putting it on a guitar and just that drop D kind of dirty sound. And then, man, out came Bull Riding Fiend, and then we had Bull Riding Fiend 2.0 birthed last year. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
definitely
man,
works.
good stuff.
I'm a fan of the first version, but I'm a bigger fan of the second version. But that's
And see,
just
most
depends on
people
what you like.
disagree with you.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm
It's
not normal,
crazy
so
to me.
That's
I like them
that's
both.
always the case.
But yeah, well,
Everyone
I'm used to
disagrees
being
with
on the
him.
fringe. Yeah, so
Yeah, it's the same thing with Shooting for the Moon, though. I released the full band version of Shooting for the Moon, and I can't tell you, and people don't mean anything by it, but I can't tell you how many people were like, "Man, I really like the acoustic version." I'm like, "Well, it's still there for you. You know,
right.
it's still on YouTube. You can
Didn't
go
go
listen
away,
to it just
right?
like you were, you know." So,
Yeah, they're both great.
well, thank you, thank you.
You bet. You bet.
Can you talk about something you mentioned before we hit live? Kind of transitioning from those rodeo songs into everyday country songs.
Yeah.
Um, kind of how did you just come upon deciding that you want to make this a point to get out some songs that that aren't just for the cowboy culture?
Well, I mean, naturally, um, you just you write about experience,
Right.
right? Riding bulls is something that I lived through and through, and it's something that came natural. But
Gotcha.
also love songs and heartbreak songs and life experiences. It's something that came natural. And when you're a songwriter, you need an outlet, right?
Right.
So I always wrote those types of songs. It's just when it came down to, doing this as a career
Yeah.
now, I
Yeah.
wanted to, and I still want to. I still have songs that I haven't recorded yet that I want to release for my rodeo community.
Mhm.
And I never want to forget where I came from, and I still want to write those types of songs because it resonates with them, and I never want to lose them.
Right.
But I want to also write songs that they can listen to as well as other people, you know? And so when it came to the point of, okay, doing this as a full-time job, which I haven't always been able to do, I've had a day job and kind of did the gigging on the weekends and all that stuff. But when I wanted to make this my career, it was one of those things like, okay, now we have to choose these songs a little more wisely to be able to pick up gigs.
Right.
I can't just go play every single rodeo every single weekend.
Right.
And then 9 times out of 10, one thing that's kind of a bummer is a big portion of my fan base is rodeo, the rodeo community. Well, what are they doing on the weekends when I'm playing shows?
At the rodeo.
They're rodeo. Yeah.
They're rodeoing. They're off to the next one.
Yep.
They're not staying after the rodeo to watch me. They got to drive to the next show. And so that's kind of a thing that we've come across over the years. Now they stream the crap out of my music,
Yeah.
Right.
but
They should.
actually putting butts in seats is the issue. So whenever you're faced with that challenge and that decision, it's like, okay, well, the venue down the road won't hire me because I can't put bodies in that venue, and I have the numbers, but why aren't people showing up? Oh, it's because they're rodeoing,
Yep.
and so that's been a challenge. And then another challenge that we've had has been because the rodeo community supports me so much, they're so spread out over the world, right?
Yeah, makes
And
sense.
so I may play a show in Texas, but where in Texas? Okay, well then it's condensed down even more. So
Right.
I may have a few people come that are like, oh man, I love your music. But then everyone else in the venue didn't know who I was until that night. Now the next time I play, I have more people show up,
Right.
That's a good sign. Yep.
but it's just building that fan base over the years,
Well,
so now we're finally getting somewhere. And so, man, I'm so excited. We're ending the Braxton run in Ardmore, Oklahoma.
That's
So
gonna be great.
I'm so pumped up to play Ardmore. I have so many people that have reached out and bought tickets to come to the Ardmore show. I'm so stoked to be able to sing Headed South of Ardmore in Ardmore, Oklahoma. It's going to be
Yeah,
so
that's
cool.
gonna be super cool. Well, also, so I think is it the Thursday or Friday shows in Lawrence? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got 2 kids in school up there. I'm gonna try to get one of them for sure there. But
Yeah, man.
yeah,
Awesome.
for what it's worth. But then the next night you're in Fayetteville, right?
Fort Smith.
Or Fort Smith. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're in Fort Smith.
Well, those are. I think it's gonna get increasingly better each show in terms of crowds. So, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure with Braxton being there, that it's gonna be a good.
We're expecting them all to be sold out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Just because of, everything I think he's played 13 sold out shows in a row. So we're expecting the steam and the momentum to keep on rolling.
For sure.
I know just on my end, people coming for me, we're going to pull a decent crowd in Ardmore, just ourselves.
Right.
And then on top of what he's going to pull, I think we're going to do well.
Yep. That's
So
exciting, man.
I'm excited.
I'm super excited for you on that.
I was just going to point out with the rodeo songs and then adding the other stuff in. Just keep in mind, like Chris Ledoux had just "Look at You, Girl" too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh,
Like,
he's got a ton
he
of.
had plenty of his. He had plenty of
Yeah.
rodeo songs, but he
Yeah.
had the other ones that brought him in as well. So
Yeah,
that's been going that way for a long
when you
time.
think about cowboys, and stuff,
Think
they
of
can
love
listen
songs.
to it too. That's the thing is
For sure.
they can listen to the love songs too because they're humans.
Right.
They can listen to the heartbreak songs because they're humans. They've been through it.
Yep.
But not everyone can resonate with bull riding fiend, and I
Right.
understand that.
Yep.
That's why I said, I never want to forget where I came from. I still want to do songs like that, but I want to do songs for everyone as well.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah.
We're going to get to the rapid fire, and then Soul Gravy's got a incredibly important question to ask you before we finish up. But before we get to the rapid fire, y'all make sure you follow Caden on all the socials. If you stream music, and I know you do, make sure you go follow him there as well. Those numbers are important. We talked a little bit about that here in terms of booking shows. If you do us a favor and follow Caden, we would greatly appreciate it because it helps make it easier to get the great artist on this show. So
Yeah.
do that, please. And not only on the socials as well, make sure you interact, comment, like, share. All that stuff is important. So, all right, that's our ad bit.
Can I have a rapid fire?
Yeah, would you want to do the rapid fire?
No, just one, just the first one. Or
Yeah,
just
fire
one.
away.
All right, so a movie from your past that you could have one of your songs on the soundtrack.
Ooh,
Oh,
that's a good
man.
one, Soul Gravy.
Thank you. I just thought
All right.
Or TV
Probably
show.
8 seconds.
Oh, nice.
8 seconds. Yeah.
I don't know why Cowboy Way is the one that popped in my head when I was when I was thinking that.
Already has the
Cowboy
song,
Way
right?
works.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Okay.
We pitched Last Cowboy to Yellowstone, but I don't think it made it to the right person. Taylor
Well-
Sheridan might be at the Ardmore show, so we'll see.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a start. Yeah. All right, Desert Island album. You get to take one album with you on a desert island, Caden. What are you taking?
I'm gonna go with the Church Pew Barstool kind of Town album.
All right.
It's between that one and the Cowboy Like Me album from Cody Johnson.
Okay. Both really good ones. Dinner with one historical figure. They can either be past or with us.
Keith Whitley.
All right. Keith Whitley. There we go. Ideal green room. I know you've seen a few. So what's in your ideal green room?
Honestly, great snacks, spring water, Red Bulls, 5-hour energies, and then it's got to have a shower and a nice comfy couch with Netflix. And
okay, that seems reasonable. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
First concert that you
and
went to?
air conditioning.
Oh,
Sorry.
yep.
Whew.
That's a given, right? All right.
Yeah.
You would think it would be a given, but
Should be.
Apparently, it is not a given.
Yeah.
Right.
By the look on his face, he has dealt with some green rooms that were not cool green rooms. So
some rooms that were considered green rooms.
They got a little ranchy.
Yeah.
All right. So first concert that you ever attended, and then first concert that you paid to go see.
The first concert I ever attended. Man, I think my first concert was. I think it was Whiskey Myers.
That's all right.
He.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think my first concert was Whiskey Myers. The night before I opened up for Kojo, and then the first concert I paid for was Chris Stapleton and Wade Bowen.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool.
In Houston.
All right. Well, we'll just get to the most important question. So this started out as a joke.
Yes, I'll join the Opry.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, after you're on the Opry, yeah, I'm not a member, so I can't invite you on. but we'll put in a good word for you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
That's at least I ask.
Oh well, that's one of Tybo's questions. Let's ask that. Venues, kind of goal venues that you would love to play.
Man, I want to play, and I know these are reasonable, but I want to play. I want to sell out Billy Bob's, and I want to play Green Hall at least once. It's just it's a historic venue. I've always wanted to play, and then obviously the Opry, and the Ryman.
Gotcha. All right. So the most important question was started out as a joke on episode number 1, and now it is a requirement that we ask this. So, Caden, what is your favorite Little Debbie snack?
My favorite Little Debbie snack?
I know that's a tough, hard-hitting question, but that's what we do here.
Man. Trying to think of all of them. Gosh dang it. Gingerbread men, or the Christmas trees.
Okay.
They're seasonal, but those are the best. And if I can't have seasonal,
no, you can have
I guess
seasonal.
I'll go with like a zebra cake.
It's the zebra cake with the Christmas spirit, so it's
absolutely.
Yeah, it's made in October.
Yeah.
Did I leave out any rapid fire questions that you wanted to get to?
I don't know, but I asked the question and everybody went, stop the movie. And I'm like,
what is it? You off for
maybe
that
it's
one.
just me. Yeah. All right. So I'm sure you got it. But Caden, man, we appreciate you taking time to hang with us. We really enjoyed getting to chat with you. And I got a whole nother page of questions. So it means we'll have to invite you back for round 2 at some point.
I'm sorry, I just talk too much.
No, that's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah, it's better than two word replies. So continue.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
All right. Cool,
I would
man.
love to. Yeah.
Definitely.
We'll get you back on, man. Appreciate it so
great,
much.
brother.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.